Hello everyone, this is Dave from Dave's Wreaths and Things, and today I am going to decorate the Ruffle wreath I made last week for Halloween. Yes, something scary and spooky this way comes. Here are all the materials that I'm going to be using for today. I had a lot of people requesting, how do I decorate my wreaths? What do I buy? Etc. etc. So from this table full of stuff like these headbands with these cool little black roses and bats, I have eyelashes, I have spiders, hats, ribbons, a mannequin head, a wig. These are just some stickies to put on your face. So from everything here, I'm going to kind of create my Halloween wreath for today. So why don't I get started and show you how I create my wreaths using those base wreaths I've been teaching you how to make. So this is the base Ruffle wreath we made last week, and I'm going to link it in the top right hand corner. In this video, I'm not going to show you how to make this. In this video, I'm just going to show you the next step. So for me, what I wanted to do is add a little bit more to this Ruffle wreath that I created last week. And what I'm going to do is, with the remaining mesh that I had left over, this is just black deco mesh, 10 inches, and I'm going to cut this into 12-inch strips. So I'm just going to lay my healing board down, self-healing board I should say, down, and I'm going to cut a whole bunch of that 10-inch deco mesh at 12 inches. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to curl it up to add some loops, curly loops, in between my ruffles. So it has a natural curl to it. All I'm going to do is just roll it up, put it in between my fingers to hold it, grab my Chanel stem or pipe cleaner, bend it, and then give it a really good twist. And I noticed here that my pipe cleaner is a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut a whole bunch in half, and I'm just going to use the half. That's going to be more than enough to wrap around the wreath frame. So again, I just roll it up nice and tight, place it in between my fingers, grab my Chanel stem, fold it in half, and then just create a little loop. So I'm going to do that with all the extra pieces that I cut. And how I'm going to attach it is I'm going to just go right inside and attach it to the two middle wires. So I'm going to take that pipe cleaner, feed it through, and then I'm going to flip my wreath over, and I'm going to twist tie it at the back, making sure it's nice and secure and that it's not going to go anywhere. And because I had a whole bunch extra, I'm just going to chop it off, and that's the reason why I chopped the pipe cleaner previously that you saw, just so I don't have a lot of waste. I can use it all and not waste a lot. And again, I'm just going to feed that loop through, twist it off, and that's going to be nice and secure. And then once you see me flip this over, you'll see that I have my ruffles and I have my loops. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue with that all the way around with my remaining mesh. And here we go. It is all done. I just love how it turned out. I've got my loops kind of in the center with the ruffles all around. It gives a lot of interest. Even just plain wreath, it gives a lot of interest. And here we go. I have two ribbon rolls. These are 1.5 inch. They are not wired. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to cut them at 10 inches only. I usually like a little bit of ribbon. I'm not one of those to cut my ribbon at maybe 14, 15, 16 inches. But because these aren't wired, I'm just going to cut them at the 10 inches, so when I add them to the wreath, they're just going to show through. It's not going to be an abundant. You'll see in a minute. There is a method to my madness, and of course I'm cutting up the polka dotted one as well. Again, these are all at the 10-inch mark. And once I have those all cut up, I'm going to finish them off with a little dovetail. All you do is you fold it in half and cut on an angle. Now remember to keep the good side out and then cut on an angle, and that'll give you a really nice dovetail, and that just finishes all those ribbons off really nicely. And I also cut this skeleton ribbon that I have. This is wired ribbon. And I cut this one at 13 inches and I dovetailed it as well. Now, remember those little pipe cleaners that are showing through if you watched last week's video? This is the reason why we don't chop them off, because we're going to put the ribbon bundle right in there. Now I'm just going to lay down my ribbon. So I'm going to start off with two of the larger ones with the skeleton. I'm going to put a polka dot one down, and then I'm going to get this chevron looking one, and then I'm going to grab another polka dot. So you're making a little starburst with your ribbons here. And then you're going to find the center, squish it all together, hold it in one hand, nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere, and then you're going to place that in between those two stems from that pipe cleaner. And then give it a really good twist. I usually twist maybe 4 or 5 times just to make sure it all stays in place. And once you've got it in place, there's a couple of things you can do. You can fold that pipe cleaner. You'll see there's excess pipe cleaner left over there. You can fold it into the wreath and attach it to the back. Or what I usually do is I usually chop off the excess, and once I'm done, I come back and I put a little dab of hot glue right on that pipe cleaner so it doesn't go anywhere. And now you can just fluff this all up. You can do it now, you can do it when you're all done attaching your ribbons. I usually do it at the very end. I will attach all of my ribbons on, and then I will come back and fluff everything. But I just wanted to show you what it's going to look like here very quickly with this little ribbon bundle all put together on that beautiful deco mesh wreath. There we go, we have our little bundle. And I'm just going to continue the same process, placing the ribbon all the way around. And here we go. I've got my ribbon all set and ready to go. You'll notice there's no ribbon in the center, but there's, again, a method to my madness on this. So just stick around, you'll see. But here we go. I have all my ribbon laid out, and I'm loving how this black and white is turning out already. You saw the mannequin head right in the beginning, and what I'm going to do first before I do anything with it is I'm going to seal it. So all I'm going to do is take some Elmer's glue, and I'm going to apply a layer of Elmer's glue on here, rub it in with my fingers, let that completely dry, and then I'm going to do a layer of Mod Podge. And you do want to seal styrofoam, especially if you're going to paint it or use hot glue on it. If you're going to use hot glue on an untreated surface of styrofoam, it is going to melt. How do I know this? Past experiences. So trust me, spray painting, hot gluing, anything styrofoam, you need to seal it first. So I'm using glue and let that dry, and then I will use Mod Podge. And here you see I'm all done. I've got about 2 or 3 coats of white acrylic paint on there. I've got some skewers I just threw in the back just to hold it in place so it doesn't roll around on me. And the first thing I'm going to do is I kind of had an image in my head of what I wanted this to look like. So instead of just going in there with my paint right away, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to draw this out really quickly with my pencil and kind of get my, what is the word I'm looking for? Just kind of get the layout of the land, really. Just kind of what I want to do with this, make sure everything's even, make sure everything looks good, because changing it with pencil is a lot easier than having to repaint it. So here I'm just drawing in the eyes, eyebrows, my little, triangles above and below the eyes, and I'm just kind of laying it all out, making sure it's even. And then once that's all done, I will start with the painting process. And I'm happy with that, so let's bring out my black acrylic paint, and I'm using a really thin paintbrush for this. I mean, it's not the thinnest paintbrush in the world, it's thinner than I usually use. And I'm just going to go around and outline the eyes first, Now, if I was to do this again, and I probably will, I would probably start at the top and work my way down. I did a couple of things backwards. I had everything planned out on a piece of paper. Do this step, Dave, but I just got excited and I wanted to roll with this, and I just, ended up doing it kind of. I worked in the middle, I worked at the top, then I worked at the bottom. So I'm just laying down my first layer of black acrylic paint, and as you can see, it is coming together so well already. I mean, as soon as that black went down, I was like, oh my god, I am loving this. And I'm just going to continue painting with that final circle on the nose. I don't know if I said this, by the way. I got this styrofoam head at the Dollarama. I believe it was $4 each, just before Halloween, because at Halloween they go really, really fast. Here I drew in my eyes, and I'm going to paint them. And I didn't want to do a color. I wanted to keep it kind of in that black and white gray tone. So all I'm doing is mixing about 3 or 4 different shades of gray, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put down my first or base layer of that eye color, which is a light gray for this project. And as you can see, when you're drawing your eyes in your sockets, let's say, you don't, especially like where the pupil is and the color, the full circle of the eye is not seen. Does that make sense? In other words, don't draw an entire circle within the top and the bottom of the eye. You want the top and the bottom to be a little bit overlapping, if that totally makes sense. I hope it does. Now all I'm doing is I'm just adding a few darker colors in here. And if you've ever seen your eyes, of course we've all looked at our eyes in the mirror, you have little kind of darker spokes, if you will, going from the iris outwards. And I wanted to mimic that, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of black paint in the middle, and I'm going to reverse my brush, use the handle to pull that black paint outwards. So it's going to kind of create a low light and a highlight at the same time, because you're kind of spreading that black paint, and you're also taking off a little bit of that gray paint because there's white underneath. That's going to create a little bit of a highlight. So it's kind of a nice little trick of the trade, I guess, to create this highlight and low light within those eyes. And then of course I'm going to create the pupils here with my black paint, take a look at it, and then I'm going to add that wonderful highlight and make sure I have them even. That's why I'm moving it to face me. And then I'm going to touch up a little bit around the eye if I've got paint anywhere. And then I'm just going to lightly outline that eye that we just drew in the darker color to kind of give it some depth. And then our eye is all coming together. I'm going to finish off on the other side. And then once that's all done, I'm just going to let it dry for a little bit. Once it is all dry, I'm going to come back with my white paint and a steady hand and I'm just going to touch up my lines just a little bit. So we're not all perfect. I kind of goofed up at a couple of spots, so I'm just going to come around and make those black lines really crisp and fix that up. While I was doing that, I was like, you know what? I think she needs some eyeshadow or some depth or shadowing just right where the eye is. So I originally thought I'll just put some black in there. That didn't really look very good. Watered down black is what I used. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to roll with this. So I just took some of that white acrylic paint, started painting over it, and just blending really until I got the effect that I wanted. And as you can see here, it kind of gives it that little 3D effect, a little bit of shading, a little bit of, eyeshadow. Why not? So once that's all done, I'm just going to let that fully dry. And I had all these stickers. Now, the ones that I just showed you, I was originally going to use, but then I just decided, you know what? I think I'm just going to go simple with this. So I'm going to take some of these black jewel stickers, and I'm just going to stick them on at the bottom of the eye, the side, and at the top of the eyebrow. And that's it. A nice finishing touch, I think, actually. I was really happy with it. So 3 on each side, and I'm good to go. Here was a wonderful, wonderful little learning lesson for me. I am going to attempt to put on eyelashes, fake eyelashes, and I originally thought, oh, I'll use tacky glue. That'll be perfect for this. Let me tell you, I do not envy any person who puts on eyelashes, fake eyelashes. I had such a hard time with this. This is just a little snippet of me trying to get this eyelash on using the tacky glue. It's not working. It left glue everywhere. It left glue on the mannequin head after I finished painting it and touching it up. So then I had this brilliant idea. Oh, why don't I just use some hot glue? So I put some hot glue down, and not thinking, I put a whole wad of it down. And then I, of course, not thinking again, used the same eyelash that I had the tacky glue stuck on it still. So everything seemed to be going fine at first. And then once I got into it, I was like, oh, this is not sticking. So I decided, oh, I'm going to put more hot glue. Then I didn't like it. And then I took it off, and well, wham, as you can see. Let me just say there were some words said. After I finished repainting it, let that all dry, I decided I am going to use that hot glue, but this time I practiced, and all I did was I put a very, very small, thin layer of hot glue down, and then I did half at a time. And also, I didn't have a pair of tweezers that I wanted to use, or, for the crafting it gets all messy. So I just used this barbecue skewer that I had laying around. And I think that came out pretty good. I was happy with myself. There they are, both done and attached. And I'm really happy with that. What I'm going to do is use this clear leveling gel. You've seen me, if you've watched my videos before, you've seen me use this a couple times. And this will actually dry clear. So it is kind of a Mod Podge consistency, maybe a little bit waterier. Waterier? Is that even a word? So I'm just going to paint the eyes themselves with this clear leveling gel, and it dries clear and glossy. So my aim for this is to have that eyeball nice and glossy. So I'm just going to finish up this eye, and then I'm going to continue on the other eye and let that dry, and then we'll have glossy eyes. Here we go, is the fun part. So I have my mannequin head all dried and painted with my rhinestones. I have my hat, my feather boa, some flowers, some leaves. I also have a black skull. I think actually I have 2 of the black skulls, the little mini black skulls. Yep, there they are. I have some green spiders. So I'm just going to let my creative juices kind of flow. I know the first thing that I want to do is put that hat on there. So I just take off the tags, and I'm also going to take that little headband off as well with my pliers. And I'm going to kind of position it on the head to kind of get an idea where I want it to go. Now I know where I want it to go. Now I'm just going to load it up with hot glue. Don't you just love hot glue? Oh my goodness. And I'm just going to hold that in place. And again, I will stress this. When you are using hot glue on the styrofoam, make sure you seal the styrofoam first. Otherwise, the hot glue will melt your styrofoam. Okay? So I showed you how to do that by using Elmer's glue and Mod Podge earlier in the video, but I just want to say it again. Just be wary. you have to seal your styrofoam head. I am detaching all of my black flowers, and I'm going to cut off the little nubs at the very end of those flowers as well. Once I finish that, I'm going to pull my mannequin head back in, and I'm just going to start gluing. I have no plan how to do this. I have no organized charts, or this flower goes there and this flower goes there. I just start placing it and just seeing how it goes. And as you see here, I'm just playing around with it, seeing what it looks like, adding more here, adding more there, until I'm finally happy with the results and I can move on to the next step. So here we go. She's all done of flowers in her hair, her hat's on, and I've attached it using black floral wire and a piece of black duct tape just right at the back. And I'm going to kind of fiddle around with how I want to place her. So my idea is to have her attached at the midpoint of the back neck or back of the head, and at her neck. So the piece that I just showed you is actually fed through the middle, and I'm using this black floral wire. And I'm also going to attach it through the neck and attach that portion to the bottom of the wreath frame. So I'll have 3 points of where there's going to be attachment so this head doesn't fall. Because it is a little bit heavy once the hat's on there, once all the flowers are on there, and all those coats of glue and paint. So you'll see here, I just flip it over, I get all of my wire organized, and this is where I'm attaching the neck portion, which is right at the bottom. And then you'll see in a second, I'm gonna flip it over, position the head, and I'm trying not to I'm trying not to damage the head as I'm flipping it over. And I couldn't get it in the shot, so I'm gonna move it over in just a second. Here you go, just to show you how I have tied it off. I'm just pulling it really tight, and then I'm just gonna tie it like you would a normal shoelace. And I'm just gonna keep pulling and pulling. And then once I'm happy it's nice and secured, I'm just gonna cut it. And there we go. She is all attached to my wreath, and I'm gonna add my feather boa with some hot glue and wrap that all around her neck and the base that is still white. So I'm just gonna continue with my hot glue, wrapping that feather boa around and making sure I have everything covered so you can't see anything. With every step, I am just loving this more and more and more. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of work. I have done some really easy wreaths where you can make a wreath in 15 minutes. I will say this is not one of those. But the result is awesome. Look at her. That looks so cool. So here I'm playing with the spider. I don't like it, so I'm just going to throw it to the side. And I also made a bow using that skeleton ribbon. Here she is in all of her final glory. I've got my bow on. I've got everything attached. And I am just in love with this wreath. Sorry about the window showing in this shot. I'm in my craft room. This is usually where I hang up the wreaths to take a look at them. But there she is in all of her glory with her hat, her flowers in her hair. I just love how she turned out, and I hope you did as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a great time. Why not leave me a comment down below? Or maybe hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks again. Take care. Bye for now.